Hello,
How's it going?
everything is good. How are you, Ray? Doing well?
Yeah, man. Yeah, rainy afternoon here in Madrid.
How is the weather? Hopefully better than Lisbon because it's been pissing rain and now it's extremely windy. So,
Yeah, it's usually where I am. Where I am, it's always windy as fuck. I don't know why. It's bizarre, man. And I don't know, it's bizarre. Today is just rainy. Yeah, normal.
yeah,
It's fine.
and that's the whatever storm there is at the moment,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. It's
Keep
probably
burning.
going through the peninsula anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about North Sea Echoes. That's why we're here. How did this album came together?
Um, it was just one day. Jim contacted me and said he wanted, he had some music that he originally was going to be all instrumental, and he said that he just kept hearing vocals over it, and wondered if I would be interested in working with him and seeing if we could come up with something. And that's pretty much what happened. It was just uh, yeah, it wasn't like, oh, let's make an album together. It was more or less just he had already finished all the music and sent it to me, and I just put my melodies and words to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this album feels a bit sad, nostalgic.
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
It brings that kind of feelings that it's very I was enjoying it a lot, and maybe because it's the time of the year where you just want the spring to come up and
Yeah.
be more. But were the music uh, was the music that created that sense of more of a nostalgic and sad kind of feeling into it.
Yeah. I mean, when I listen to the music, I never know what I'm going to write about. Just whatever the music makes me feel is what I start to write about. And I have trouble writing lyrics, and I don't like it. It's the worst part, I think, of everything. But for this, just they just kind of came out, and I wasn't looking to make anyone sad or um, you know, I was just writing words that I felt the music needed. So yeah, I'm getting that a lot from everybody. I'm hearing it a lot. It's very sad. I don't think it's sad. I think it's reflective. I think it's basic human emotions that we all feel at one point or another. Just put down on paper or computer, I guess. That's not really right on a pad anymore. So
Yeah, but the thing it's yeah, I understand what you're saying, but these are the kind of lyrics and emotions that are in the back of our minds normally, and we tend to. I think it's a normal human behavior to try to shut those, you know, kind of feelings a bit and put a different face, so to say. those
yeah,
those this seems like it was something that was hidden and they came to light now.
sure. I mean, it's like I said, it's just basic life. I think, of course, we're all happy. We all we do our thing. We have our friends and everything. But I mean, I'm sure there's times when um, sometimes maybe we feel lonely, or maybe you don't want to be around people. I mean, and that's perfectly fine. I don't know how everyone else is, but there's obviously there's times you just want to be alone and reflect on life, so to speak. I'm really not a deep person. I'm just and I'm the opposite. But I don't know. When I heard the music, I just felt that's what it brought to my mind. So I wrote about that.
Yeah, that's the beauty about music. Sometimes it brings a different side of you that a lot of people don't expect. You probably don't expect to come out, but I think it's just wonderful when music can do that to someone. as it just was when we're listening as well, brings us to a different array of emotions.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I mean, that music is pretty crazy where you hear a song and it'll remind you of a year that maybe it was 30 years ago that, like, oh, I remember that, I remember that time everything happened. It's just kind of cool to me. But, I still love different kinds of music, but for me, this quiet, sort of very ambient music, I loved it. I loved recording it. I loved writing it. I love listening to this kind of music. It's every now and then. Rarely that I ever listen to music anymore, but when I do, I put on whatever the mood, fits the mood. I guess.
Yeah.
Normally it's Alice in Chains. I don't know why, but that's a lot.
And are you a very reflective person? Do you look at, life, or what you've gone through, where you are now? Do you go through those phases of where you reflect about, a moment in time?
I think probably more so now that I'm older. Yeah, I obviously think about the past and growing up as a kid and where I grew up, the things that I've accomplished or not accomplished in my life. But sure, and it's not something I walk around, thinking, oh God, I'm getting old. But it's whenever I'm writing, I guess, writing a new song, then I guess those feelings come out even more. I think, depending on what music I'm writing. I mean, if it's something heavy, then uh, I don't know. It depends. I guess. I guess it does depend. I'm not that reflective of a person. I'm really not that deep, to be honest. It's not.
And the name North Sea Echoes, how did you guys come about with the name?
We went through a bunch of different names trying to figure out what to call the. I mean, I still don't know if it's a project or a band or a group or uh, a collaboration. I don't know. But we when Jim and I started working on it, the music, and I started sending him songs, we got about halfway through and sort of said, "Wow, what are we gonna do with this? The hell are we gonna do with this? What are we doing? Like, doing an album? Are we just doing this for us?" And um, then we said, well, maybe we'll release it on our own, and not look for a label. And then we said, well, shit, we're gonna have to give it a name then, because we can't call it Alder Matthias. It's already been taken with Arch Matthias. So we started looking at different names, and Jim and I have this thing where if we see something or hear something interesting, we'll write it down. I have like all these notes in my phone because everyone has their phone with them all the time. So we started going through these little things that we had written down, and he had North Sea Echoes somehow. And he doesn't know where he heard it, where it came from, but it was one of the options. And it was funny because one of the songs on the album is called No Maps. And then I said, why don't we call this project, or call it Sin Mapas? And he was like, well, I said, yeah, it means no maps in Spanish. He's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, yeah. So we were both really like, okay, I like this. Really nice, makes sense to us. No maps meaning, no plan,
Yeah.
just music. And I think it was his wife or his daughter, I can't remember which. He asked them, what do you think of Sin Mapas? And they said, Sid Papas. Sounds like an Italian restaurant. And so we said, no, never mind. We can't use that. So we ended up with North Sea Echoes. And it fits the music, that very, very stark sort of emptiness, cold. I don't mean to be that negative, but it just kind of fit the music, I think.
Yeah. And, one of the things about you and Jim, you guys have a chemistry. And, chemistry is something you cannot teach or learn in a way. It's something that, happens. How, you always feel comfortable when you're writing with Jim. It's just one of those things where, it's there and it just works.
It is. It absolutely is. And, again, when he contacted me, I was really surprised and happy because, Jim says he doesn't want to really write any more Fates Warning. So I figured at one point we would work together again. I just didn't know on what. And I love working with him because it's been over 30 years we've worked together. And I think at this point, not that we know each other's thoughts, but we're definitely honest with each other. If one of us doesn't like something, we'll of course say something, and there's no yes men
Yeah.
between us. It's pretty much like, no, I don't like that. Let's try something else. And a perfect example is the song "No Maps" on the album. That originally it had a freight train running in the background, just really quiet, faint freight train, and it had acoustic guitars and electronic drums, and it was a really pretty song. I still have it somewhere, and I did that entire song, and what you hear on the album is what I recorded and sent to Jim. Nothing has changed, and I sent it to him, and he says, "Nah, man, that's not what I'm hearing. I don't think it works. I'm hearing something different." I said, "Okay, well, I'll start over. I'll start from the beginning and rewrite everything." And he said, "Okay, yeah, that's cool." So before I even had time to start rewriting it, he got a hold of it. He goes, "You know what? Give me a couple of days. I have an idea." I said, "Okay." So a couple of days later, he comes back with what you hear on the album. So basically, he rewrote everything. He rewrote the entire song around the melody, which I thought was really, really cool. And I like the song even more now. I think it makes more sense the way it is. It's a weird song, of course. It's very strange with the out of tune piano and everything. It's just really, and I think it came out great. But that's just one of those moments where, just again, being honest with each other, saying it's not what I hear. Let's try something else. And it worked out. And I'm glad, because I didn't really want to rewrite the whole song again, because it already took me a week or so.
Yeah. do the songs, on this record, this one is an example that when you wrote the lyrics, Jim worked around it and, everything was fine afterwards. But was there any songs that were like changed a lot during the process?
The actual song, Unmoved, was one that we moved around quite a bit. There was another one that he said that it wasn't sitting right with him. Though I think there was a different chorus. And he wasn't happy with how it was working its way through the song. So we edited parts out and we actually, like a puzzle, just moved parts around until we thought it sounded pretty cool. So that was one that the song ended up being different than what it was in the beginning. But most everything you hear on the album is what he sent me. There's a few changes here and there. The bridge in Open Book is a little different than what I first sent him. But everything else is pretty much the same. And it's pretty cool because pretty much 95% of everything that's on the album is what I wrote and sent to Jim. And there's just minor changes here and there. And I think it's really cool because I wouldn't say they're demos because they are actual recordings. But I'm actually reading the Geddy Lee book right now, My Effing Life, which is great. And he said something in the book that made total sense to me. And Jim and I talked about it before. It's, when you do demos, at your home studio or whatever, and then you go to the studio to re-record them, you kind of lose something in the process, you know, like you maybe there's something you did in the demo that you can never recreate vocally, or you know, maybe a solo or whatever. There's just a certain thing that happens in the demo that you go into the studio and you do it 100 times, and you just sort of become robotic, you know, and it loses that original feel that you had in the beginning. And so for this, I think it was great that everything was just done and that was it. And I don't have to go to a recording studio and redo everything again. It was just like the first time, and there it is. So
Yeah.
What you hear on the album is very organic. It's just it's real. It's not, you know, okay, I'm gonna go do it 100 times in the studio and try to recreate something that was already good enough.
Yeah.
Know?
That's a good thing about technology these days. It's that you're able to, you know, be at home. If you have a good idea, if you have a good feeling, you record something and you have the ability of the sound that you record at home being as good as being in a studio. And, you know, it's one of the saving time, money things these days that you can do.
It is, but it is the worst part is the recording budgets aren't any good anymore. And the record companies know that you can record everything at home.
Yeah.
It's not the old days when, you know, it's $2,000 a day in the studio. Like when we did the Parallels album, Jesus Christ, I think we were there for 6 months. We lived in Toronto for 6 months in hotels, plus the studio, plus paying Terry Brown. Man, I have no idea. I really don't even know how much that album cost. I don't, but it was in the hundreds of thousands.
Do you think you guys ever recoup that money?
Now, and it's our biggest selling album ever. You know, so yeah, those days are gone. They're wise to it, but it's still. I mean, yeah, you don't really need big budgets anymore. The only good thing about that is that you recoup faster.
Yeah.
At least. So we'll see. We'll see how well this does or not.
But it's very difficult, you know. These days, obviously, we talked with a lot of bands, and you know, they say the only way to make money is really to go on the road. You know, records don't sell anymore. Streaming is what we know it is. How much they pay, which is
yeah.
So
not even a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
You know? It's one of the atoms in the drop.
Yeah.
I guess, so to speak. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And unfortunately for us, since the pandemic, we haven't toured, and that was where I, you know, usually that was my bread and butter. It was going on tour, selling merch, the usual, you know. And ever since then, I'm working a lot. And it used to be that writing was the bane of my existence. I hated writing. It's the worst part of everything. But now I'm like more used to it. Ever since the pandemic, I think I've been working, and now I do have a home studio, and I think I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 albums at home already. So now it's kind of my job is recording. But I do miss touring, man. I really do. That's like the best part. You know, being with your friends again, stuck on a bus for, you know, 6 weeks with your best buds. It's always fun. A lot of memories made. And, I don't know. Hopefully one day we can do it again. You know, we're talking about it now to see if we can get some shows together this year or early next year. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you know, reading on the on the press release for this record, you talk about cheerophobia. I think it's the word about the fear of happiness.
It's a weird subject. It's just something I heard about one day, and I started reading about it. And it's just a psychological problem some people have. I don't know. It's really a disease, and it's more of a psychological thing. But yeah, the fear of happiness. I just found it fascinating to think that, you know, some people actually have a feeling that if if they're happy or something makes them happy, that there's some sort of impending doom waiting to happen. I just found it so strange, that horrible to think that way. Um, what a terrible way to live. But it was just uh, yeah, just a subject to write
Yeah.
about. There's a video for the song actually. It'll come out eventually, not for a while, but yeah, an animated video.
Yeah. I was reading and I found interesting. I know, some people have joy in making other people miserable, and they get a kick. They
That's
get
terrible. What's
a
that called?
yeah, I don't know, but they get a kick of,
Government, I guess.
you know, I don't know. It's just, but I know some people are like that, but you know, how does anyone knows like they have fear of being happy? How can we diagnose something like that? You know,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but it exists. I don't know how it's actually diagnosed, but I don't know, maybe through a psychiatrist or something. I'm not really sure. I didn't study that much about
yeah.
it.
No,
It's loosely based, I guess.
yeah, but I'm going to dig on it because I found it very interesting because, I never thought, I mean, now we know there's basically, a word for anything these days
Yeah,
anyway.
there's a phobia for anything.
Yeah, there is yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm going to dig in and try to,
yeah, yeah.
find a bit more about it. I think it's very interesting. One of the songs I really, really enjoyed on this record is Flowers in Decay.
Hmm.
I love the lyrics on it. What was going through your head when you wrote that one?
That's like it's sort of like loosely based, I guess. Sort of, maybe visiting a childhood home that you have sort of an anxiety of going back home. I know I have a bit. I used to live in Texas when I was, I left Texas when I was in my early 20s, and didn't go back for like 11 years. I think it was like 11 years that I did not return home. And it's sort of, I don't know if other people feel it, but I mean, there's movies that are sort of based around it as well. Like, maybe some rom-coms or something, but you go home and you're a little uncomfortable being back there, back in the house that you grew up in, um, you know, old friends that you just never talk to anymore. And then there's that whole of having to get acquainted again, that whole, I don't know. To me, it was interesting, but I do have a bit of that in me. I don't know if other people do, if they can relate. Um, but that's basically what that's about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Basically, the flowers in decay. Meaning the colors tend to fade away. The, the memories, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I can say.
Cool. And we're talking about, touring and music and stuff. What are your next musical endeavors, if you can talk about them next? Because
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I'm working on the AZ album. Was writing today. I've been doing so many interviews, man. I have no time. I'm like, okay, now what? Um, I'm working on that right now. There's 3 more songs for me to finish, and then I'm moving on to another project, which I can't really talk too much about yet. It's not really uh, set in stone. Uh, haven't really signed anything yet. So, matter of fact, today I was just talking to the person to talk about more of the project soon. And then probably another solo album, hopefully. If the record company will have me, I guess. We'll see.
yeah,
I don't really know how well the other one did. I guess it was okay.
yeah,
Got to stay busy, man. Can't tour. So I am working. Actually, I am talking to a booking agent about doing some shows for my solo stuff, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
is it difficult to, after, being in a band like Fitz Warning? which is recognizable and stuff like that, you would think that the doors would open easily if you wanted to do something solo. Is it easy or is it difficult really to go to like a booking agent and try to schedule it?
I'm sure it's easier if I really tried a lot harder. I'm just not trying that hard, to be honest with you. I mean, there's no offers coming in the door. I think it's all up to me, pretty much. So, again, I'm busy writing all the time. That if a Fates tour would have come around, yeah, of course, I'll drop everything and do that. But yeah, I think yeah, if I worked harder at it, I'm sure it would be easier. I'm lazy.
But you're happy writing at home.
Yeah. I'm happy writing. I'm home. My wife works from home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's comfortable.
And it's not as bad as it used to be to write lyrics now.
Yeah. Great.
I guess with with time and experience, when you see it as a job, you have to find a way around it anyway, and you come up with great stuff. So
yeah, but I think like every job, there's some difficult moments now and then, but you get through them, you move on to the next project, I guess.
Yeah. Very good. Ray, thank you very much for your time. All the best for North Sea Echoes. It's, even though I said it was like a sad, nostalgic record, it's a good, easy listening record in the sense that
very quiet. Yeah, don't play it at parties. I don't think it's a big hit.
No, but it's a kind of record that if you're at home on your own, you can listen to it and it takes you on a journey. And makes you think about stuff, even if you don't want to think about.
Take a long drive and enjoy that, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be perfect. Man. Right. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
You.
Enjoy the weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.